The rain started coming down hard all of a sudden, big drops hitting the sidewalk in Chicago. Jessica Carter was holding her purse, running as fast as she could. Her high heels were making a lot of noise on the pavement. Her white shirt was already all wet by the time she saw the cafe up ahead. It looked really cozy and warm inside. She opened the heavy door and went in. Jessica Carter was out of breath and getting water over the place. She was happy to be inside where it was warm. The warm air in the cafe felt really good. To Jessica Carter, the cafe was really nice, a lot better than the places Jessica normally goes to. It had marble tables and soft music was playing. The coffee smelled amazing. Jessica was standing by the door trying to catch her breath. She was fixing her hair, which was wet from the rain. Jessica was supposed to meet her Brandon for dinner at a restaurant they like, which is just 2 blocks away from the cafe. The bad weather changed her plans. The storm was pretty bad, so Jessica went into the cafe instead. She was getting her phone out to send a message to Brandon Mitchell. Then something made her look up. It might have been a feeling she had or bad luck, but her eyes landed on Brandon Mitchell right away. Brandon Mitchell was sitting in a corner booth with his back to her a bit. She knew that navy suit he was wearing. She had gone with Brandon Mitchell to buy that navy suit month. What made her stop moving was not the fact that she saw him standing there. The thing that really caught her attention was the woman who was sitting across from him. She was a woman, but in a really strict kind of way. Her face had lines and her dark hair was pulled back into a tight bun. Her hand was on top of Brandon's hand on the table. She looked very serious. She was leaning forward, talking to him in a quiet and serious voice. Brandon looked really pale. He usually seemed sure of himself, but now he looked scared. Brandon's face had lost its confident look, and it had been replaced with a look of fear. The woman was still talking to Brandon in a voice, her expression intense. Brandon was listening to her, his eyes fixed on her face. The woman's hand was still on top of Brandon's hand. Jessica's heart was beating fast against her ribs. She started walking before she could even think about it. Her feet just moved on their own, taking her between the tables to the booth. The noise of the cafe was still there. It was like it was really far away. All Jessica could hear was the sound of her blood rushing in her ears. Jessica's heart was still. She could not help but think about what was happening to her. The cafe sounds were a bunch of noise now, and all her attention was on the booth and what she would find there. Brandon saw her first. His eyes got really big. His mouth fell open in shock. All the color went out of his face. The woman turned around to see what he was looking at. When she did, something weird crossed her face. It was not like she felt guilty or anything. It was not like she was surprised either. It was something with the woman. Brandon was still looking at her. The woman was looking back at him. The woman's face did something that Brandon could not figure out. The look on the woman's face was something Brandon had never seen before. "Jessica," Brandon said, his voice shaking a little. He pulled his hand back from the woman's hand. "I can tell you what happened," he said to Jessica. Jessica said, "Can you?" Her voice sounded calm, even though she was not feeling that way. She looked at them, saw all the papers on the table, the woman's leather folder and Brandon's coffee that he had hardly touched. "Because this looks pretty clear to me," Jessica said. Talking about the papers and what they meant to her, the situation with the woman and Brandon, and what she thought was going on with the papers. On the table, Brandon said, "This is not what you think," but the woman stopped him. "Miss Carter, it is what you think. It is probably even worse." The woman put her hand in her jacket, took out a badge. "I am Detective Rachel Stone from the Financial Crimes Division. Your fiancé and I were just talking about his arrest that is going to happen." The world tilted. Jessica grabbed the back of a chair that was close to her to keep herself from falling. What just happened, she thought. She said out loud, "What?" Detective Stone's face did not look as stern as it had before. He said, "You should probably have a seat." Jessica sat down. Her body felt really weird, like it was not connected to her mind at all. She looked at Brandon, trying to find something in his face that would tell her this was all a mistake, that someone had gotten things wrong. The only thing she saw on Brandon's face was guilt, and that made her feel even more confused about what was going on with Brandon. "Brandon has been running an investment scam for the past 3 years, Detective Stone said. She sounded very professional. She was not mean. Brandon has taken about $8 million from than 40 people. We have been working on our case against Brandon for 6 months. Detective Stone and her team have been looking into what Brandon has been doing. Brandon has hurt a lot of people by taking their money in his scam. Jessica said that is impossible. But even as she said it, things started to make sense to her. The expensive gifts Brandon insisted on buying for her, the gifts that Brandon got for her. His explanations about his job at Brandon's work were not very clear. The way Brandon did not want her to meet the people Brandon worked with. Brandon tell her that she is wrong about Brandon. Brandon did not look at her. He tried to say something. He could not think of any words to say. Brandon just sat there. His jaw moved like he was trying to talk, but nothing came out of his mouth. Brandon still did not look at her. Detective Stone said this quietly. The engagement was something he did to pretend to be someone else. He was a businessman, and he had a beautiful fiancé. They were even planning a wedding. This made him seem like a person that people could trust. Several of his victims gave him their money because they met his fiancé at events, and they thought the fiancé seemed like a genuine person. The words really hurt. Jessica, she thought about all the times she went to those charity parties and business dinners with Brandon. He would introduce her to people, and she would talk to them, but she had no idea what was really going on. Jessica was just being used by Brandon to get to those couples, and that made her feel terrible. She thought about all the times she made talk with them, and it made her feel sick. The charity galas and business dinners, they all seemed like a show now, and Jessica felt like she was. It's just a part of Brandon's game. She told him that he used her. Her voice was shaking badly. Everything he said to her was not true. Brandon finally said something. He reached for her hand. She pulled her hand away from him. Jessica, I really do love you, Brandon said. The way I feel about you is real. I mean it when I say I love you, Jessica. What? Do not. Tears blurred her vision. Do not you dare say that to her now became do not you dare say that to me now. So it is rewritten as do not. Tears blurred her vision. Do not you dare say that to me. Detective Stone cleared her throat. Miss Carter, this is really tough. I have to ask you something. Did you know what Brandon was up to? I mean, did you have any idea about Brandon's activities? Detective Stone wanted to know if Miss Carter had any information about what Brandon was doing. No, she said. It sounded harsh, like she was defending herself. Then she said it again. This time it was softer. No, I had no idea, she said. I am a teacher. I make $38,000 a year. I thought Brandon was successful, that he had built his business through work. It was not a happy laugh. I guess Brandon did work hard, she said. At lying, that is what Brandon was good at. Detective Stone said, I believe you, and the way she said it made Jessica look up at her. Detective Stone sounded nice, like she actually cared about Jessica. You have a choice to make, Detective Stone said. You can just leave now. Think yourself lucky that you found out about this before you got married. You can help Detective Stone and the people she works with. How can I help you? There is still money that we have not recovered. Brandon has assets that are hidden in accounts in countries, and he owns properties that are held by companies that do not really exist. Brandon has been very good at making sure we cannot find out what he is doing. Detective Stone looked at Brandon, who was sitting quietly. People who care about each other notice things and remember details. You might know more about Brandon's money than you think you do. Detective Stone said this because people who are in love notice things and remember details. Brandon's girlfriend might know more about his assets than she realizes. Jessica looked at Brandon. She really took a look at him. The man she was going to marry, the man she was going to build a life with, Brandon. He was the man who had proposed to her on a beach in Maui. Brandon had talked about the kids, they would have, and the house they would buy. Now she knew it was all based on money he had taken and the trust he had broken with her. With Brandon being the one who had done all of this, she looked at Detective Stone, said what happens to him? She really wanted to know what would happen to him. Detective Stone was the person who could tell her about him. So she asked Detective Stone again, what happens to him now? The man is in trouble. He could go to prison for 15 to 20 years. Federal prison is a thing. If we find more of the money he took, if he tells us the truth and works with us, The federal prison time might be shorter. Federal prison is not a place to be. Brandon looked at Jessica. Said Jessica, please. I did some things, really bad things, but I never wanted to hurt Jessica. I was wrong. I made mistakes, but I never meant to hurt Jessica. She had made up her mind. She looked at Detective Stone. I will help you, she said. Tell me what you need from me, Detective Stone, Jessica said to Detective Stone. Jessica felt a change inside her when she gave her phone number to the detective. This was happening as Brandon was taken away by police officers who were standing near the door. They were trying not to be seen. Jessica felt like something inside her chest was breaking. It was not just that her heart was hurting. It was something deeper. She used to think that people could always be trusted. Jessica also thought that love was enough to make a life. Now she was not so sure about the love thing. The trust she had in people was gone. Jessica felt like she could not believe in love anymore. The rain still poured outside. But Jessica didn't notice as she finally walked back into the storm. She was already soaked through anyway, inside and out. 3 months after that rainy evening, Jessica sat in a conference room in downtown Chicago, surrounded by bankers, lawyers, and federal agents. The intimidation factor would have paralyzed her old self, but she'd discovered a strength she never knew existed. Miss Carter has been instrumental in helping us trace the offshore accounts, Detective Stone was saying, nodding toward Jessica with genuine respect. Her attention to detail and willingness to review years of documents has led to the recovery of nearly $4 million. Jessica kept her expression neutral. Though inside she felt a flicker of satisfaction, she'd spent countless nights going through old photos, emails, receipts, anything that might provide a clue to where Brandon had hidden his stolen wealth. She'd remembered a casual comment about a vacation property in the Cayman Islands, a business card from a lawyer in Luxembourg. Small things that, when pieced together, formed a map to Brandon's criminal empire. The remaining victims will be grateful, said a voice from across the table. Jessica looked up to meet the gaze of Thomas Wellington. One of Brandon's victims, and the reason for today's meeting, Thomas was nothing like Brandon. Where her ex-fiancé had been smooth and practiced, Thomas was direct and honest. He wore his wealth quietly, in the quality of his watch rather than flashy displays. His dark eyes were intelligent and kind, though they carried the weight of someone who'd learned hard lessons. I'm just glad I could help, Jessica said, though it doesn't undo the damage. No, Thomas agreed. But it's a start. After the meeting ended, Thomas caught up with Jessica in the hallway. Do you have time for coffee? The real kind, not the terrible stuff they serve here. Jessica hesitated, then nodded. Sure, I could use some air anyway. They walked to a small café, 3 blocks away, neither of them commenting on the irony. As they settled into a quiet corner with their drinks, Thomas studied her with an expression she couldn't quite read. You're different from what I expected, he said finally. Different how? Stronger. When Rachel told me Brandon's fiancé was helping with the investigation, I pictured someone fragile, broken. But you're not, are you? Jessica wrapped her hands around her cup, feeling the warmth seep into her palms. I was broken. For about 2 weeks after I found out, I could barely function. I'd wake up and forget for just a moment, then remember, and it would hit me all over again. The betrayal, the humiliation, the fact that I'd been so blind. You weren't blind, Thomas said gently. He was a professional con artist. That was his skill. Maybe, but I ignored red flags because I wanted the fairy tale so badly. The successful husband, the beautiful wedding, the perfect life. Out. She laughed without humor. Turns out I was just a prop in someone else's con. Thomas was quiet for a moment. He stole $2 million from me. Money I'd set aside for my daughter's medical trust. She has a rare condition that requires ongoing treatment, and I'd been building that fund for years. His jaw tightened. When I found out it was gone, that some smooth-talking fraud had convinced me to invest in his fake company, I wanted to destroy him. Jessica felt her chest tighten. I'm so sorry. Did you get it back? Most of it, thanks to you. That property you remembered in the Caymans. That led us to 3 shell companies where he'd parked assets. We recovered almost everything. Thomas met her eyes. You saved my daughter's future, Jessica. I won't forget that. Tears pricked at Jessica's eyes. I had no idea. Detective Stone never told me whose money we were recovering. She's good about protecting privacy, but I wanted you to know what your help meant. Not just to me, but to all of us Brandon hurt. Over the next few weeks, Jessica and Thomas kept in touch. What started as conversations about the case evolved into genuine friendship. Thomas invited her to a charity gala his company was hosting, and Jessica surprised herself by accepting. I haven't been to anything like this since before, she admitted as they stood together, watching couples dance. She wore a simple black dress she'd bought herself, refusing to wear anything Brandon had given her. Before the café, Thomas asked, understanding immediately what she meant. Before my whole life fell apart? She took a sip of champagne, though maybe it needed to fall apart. I was living a lie without knowing it. And now? Jessica considered the question carefully. Now I'm building something real. I quit teaching last month. Thomas raised his eyebrows. Really? What are you doing instead? I'm starting a consulting firm, helping small businesses and individuals vet investment opportunities, spot potential fraud. Turns out, all those months of digging through financial records taught me a lot. She smiled, and for the first time in months, it felt genuine. I'm calling it Carter Advisory Services. Small, just me for now, but it's mine. That's brilliant, Thomas said, and he sounded like he meant it. And brave. Starting over isn't easy. Neither is trusting again. Jessica looked at him directly. But I'm trying. Something shifted in Thomas's expression. Jessica, I need to tell you something. When Rachel first brought your name up, when she said Brandon's fiancé was helping with the case, I looked you up. Read your social media, saw pictures of you two together, and I thought you were the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. Jessica's breath caught. But I also thought you were probably as fake as he was. Another con artist playing a role. It wasn't until I met you, saw how hard you were working to make things right, that I realized how wrong I was. You're not just beautiful, Jessica. You're honest and strong and brave, and I find myself thinking about you constantly. Thomas, she started, but he held up a hand. I'm not asking for anything. I know you're healing, rebuilding. I just wanted you to know that when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'd like to take you to dinner. Not business, not about the case. Just you and me. Jessica felt something warm unfold in her chest, like a flower opening to sunlight after a long winter. She thought about Brandon, about the lies and betrayal. Then she thought about Thomas, about his honesty and patience, the way he'd respected her boundaries while making his interests clear. I'd like that, she said softly. I'm not completely ready yet, but I'm getting there. And when I am, I'd like to try something real. Thomas smiled, and it transformed his whole face. Real sounds perfect. 6 months later, Jessica stood in her new office, looking out over the Chicago skyline. Carter Advisory Services had taken off faster than she'd imagined. With clients coming through word of mouth and referrals from Detective Stone, she'd helped 3 families avoid investment scams and assisted to small businesses. In vetting potential partners, her phone buzzed. With a text from Thomas, dinner tonight. I found a place with terrible coffee and excellent pasta. She smiled, typing back, it's a date. As she looked at her reflection in the window, Jessica barely recognized the woman staring back. This version was stronger, wiser, more careful, but also more open. She'd learned that betrayal didn't have to destroy you, that sometimes the worst thing that ever happened to you could lead to the best version of yourself. The rain had led her to that cafe, to the discovery that shattered her world. But from those shattered pieces, she'd built something better, something real. And for the first time since that storm, Jessica Carter felt ready for whatever came next. The sun was shining in through the windows of Jessica's new office. It made everything look nice and bright. She was sitting at a table looking over some papers. Jessica's company, Carter Advisory Services, was doing well. It was a lot bigger than she thought it would be. She used to be the one working there, but now she had 5 other people helping her. 2 of them used to investigate fraud, and 1 was really good with money. Carter Advisory Services was still. Jessica was happy with how things were going. She loved running Carter Advisory Services, was excited to see what the future held for Carter Advisory Services. Her phone buzzed with a reminder that she had lunch with Thomas. At 12:30 p.m., Jessica felt happy. That nice feeling went all through her chest. It still surprised her that she felt this way. She had been going out with Thomas for a year now. Thomas was her partner. He helped her with the things she wanted to do. He was also building his business, and he was doing it in a way that Jessica thought was really great. Thomas had a lot of integrity. Jessica liked that about him. She liked that he was a person and that he always tried to do the right thing. Jessica and Thomas were happy together. They supported each other, Jessica. The person who was supposed to meet with you at 11 o'clock is here, her assistant Kevin said over the intercom. She looked at her schedule, felt her stomach get all tight. The person who was going to be at the meeting for Brandon Mitchell's parole hearing. She had been feeling really bad about this meeting for a time, the whole week actually. The woman who came in was very professional, got straight to the point. She said that Brandon might get out after serving 18 months of his time. Brandon had been very good. He did everything the authorities asked him to do. He said he was really sorry for what he did. The woman said that Brandon's behavior was great, and that is why he was up for early release consideration. Brandon had done a job of showing that he was sorry for his actions, and that is out. What mattered to the people who would decide if he could get out early. The representative said this to me in a way. He said that this person wants to know if you will say something about him. This something can be that you think he should be set free, or that you think he should not be set free. What you say about this person will really matter to the people who decide if he can leave prison. Your opinion about this person will be very important to the parole board. Jessica sat back in her chair. A lot of memories came to her mind. She thought about the cafe and the rain and the moment that changed her life. Her world was shattered at that moment. Then she thought about everything that happened after that. She found out how strong she really was. The business she built was a part of her life now. She found real love, the kind of love that really matters. Jessica thought about all these things. It made her think about the business and the love and the strength she had. Jessica said finally that she would think about it. She then asked when they needed her to make a decision about the thing they were talking about, the decision. They wanted to know when Jessica would give them her decision. The hearing is in 2 weeks. After the woman left, Jessica sat by herself in her office. She was dealing with a lot of feelings. Part of Jessica wanted Brandon to stay in jail, to be unhappy, like she was unhappy. Another part of Jessica, the part that had gotten better over the last year, knew that being angry at Brandon all the time was bad for her. It made her unhappy. Jessica knew that she had to let go of the feelings she had for Brandon because they were hurting her own life. That evening she met Thomas at the restaurant they really liked, an Italian place that was far away from the busy downtown area. Thomas could tell away that something was bothering her. She was not herself, and Thomas knew that the Italian restaurant was a good place for them to talk about what was on her mind. The Italian restaurant where they had spent a lot of time together, the Italian restaurant that was their favorite. The woman was talking about Brandon's parole hearing. She said this after she told me about the meeting. They want her to say something at the Brandon's parole hearing. They actually want her to make a statement about Brandon's parole hearing. Thomas leaned over the table, took her hand. He asked her, "What do you want to do? What is it that you really want to do?" "I do not know. The old me, the one from that night, would want him to be in prison for a very long time. I am not that person anymore." Jessica looked at their hands that were holding each other. "You changed me, Thomas. This whole thing with you changed me. I found out that being angry all the time does not keep me safe. It just keeps me thinking about things that happened a time ago." Thomas said this to me in a voice. He told me that I am a special person. Most people who are in my situation would want to get at someone. Thomas said that most people would want revenge if they were in my position. I have found something better than getting revenge. I have found myself again. I am even stronger now. I have a job that I really love. I have you. She gave his hand a squeeze. Brandon has already lost the things that are really important. He has lost his freedom. People do not think well of him anymore. His future is not looking good. If I stay angry, it does not make any difference. To what has happened to Brandon? 2 weeks later, Jessica stood before the parole board in a conference room. Brandon sat across from her. He looked smaller than she remembered him. The prison had really taken a toll on Brandon. It had made him humble. When Jessica's eyes met Brandon's eyes, she saw that Brandon was genuinely ashamed of what he had done. The board chairman told Miss Carter that she could give her statement now. Jessica took a breath. Brandon Mitchell stole from me. It was not money that he took. He took the trust I had in people. He took the feeling of being safe. He took my ability to believe that people are good. For months after the police arrested Brandon Mitchell, I had a time sleeping. I did not feel like eating. I could not imagine trusting anyone. Brandon Mitchell did a lot of damage to me. He made me question everyone, including myself. I thought about Brandon Mitchell all the time, wondering why he did what he did to me. The woman saw Brandon's head drop down. His shoulders were shaking a bit. Brandon's body was moving like that because he was really upset. The woman looked at Brandon. She could tell that Brandon was trying not to cry. Brandon's head was still dropped down. His shoulders were still shaking slightly. I want to thank him. The room was really quiet. Because what he did to me, it was bad. It made me do things I did not think I could do. I started a business to help people so they do not feel the pain that he made me feel. I met someone who really loves me. This person always tells the truth. I found out that I am stronger than I thought I was. Jessica looked straight at Brandon. I am forgiving you, Brandon, because I want to be at peace. I do not forgive Brandon because he deserves it. I forgive Brandon because I deserve to feel calm and happy. I think Brandon should be set free because keeping Brandon in jail is not fair anymore. It is only making me angry, and I am tired of feeling that way, so I am letting go of my anger. She turned to the board. Brandon needs to rebuild his life with integrity. He has to make things right where he can. Brandon also has to learn to live with the mistakes he made. Brandon cannot do these things from a jail cell. Now it is up to Brandon to decide if he will succeed or fail. It is not my decision to make about Brandon. Jessica walked out of the building. There was Thomas waiting for her. He was standing by his car with 2 cups of coffee. The sun was shining in the afternoon. It made the sky look really pretty, with lots of gold and pink colors. Jessica saw Thomas and the coffee he had. She felt happy. The afternoon sun was beautiful. It made everything look nice with the gold and pink sky. He asked her how she felt. He gave her a cup at the time. The woman took the cup from him. He wanted to know how the woman felt. Jessica thought about the question for a moment, taking a breath of the cool autumn air. Then she said, I am free. She said it again. It was really clear. I am completely free. Thomas pulled out a box from his pocket and Jessica's heart just stopped beating. He said, you know what I was just talking about? Freedom and new things? Then he got down on one knee. Thomas said, I have had this box for 2 months now. I was waiting for the right time to do this. He saw Jessica walking out of that building she chose to forgive of being angry. Thomas thought to himself, this is the time for the little box, so he said, I realized there is no better time than this. Jessica Carter, you are the most honest person I have ever met. The way you handled the betrayal is really amazing. You took something that was completely broken, made it into something real. You turned all the lies into something. I think you are very strong. Jessica Carter, will you marry me? I want to spend the rest of my life with you and show you that true love is real. I want to be with Jessica Carter and prove that love can be true. Tears were running down Jessica's face as she helped him up. She said yes. Jessica whispered it again. She said yes 1,000 times yes. As Thomas put the ring on Jessica's finger, Jessica remembered that night from a year ago. That was the night she walked into a café and found out something that changed everything for her. The truth she discovered was really hard for Jessica to deal with. Jessica was so upset that she did not think she would ever be happy again. Jessica felt like her whole world was falling apart.